I just wanna be happy tonight.
Back everyone, we've got two high chairs here. We did a review on this one, the Stokke Trip Trap, and this is an Ingenuity from Target, and we kind of wanted to go through quickly some of the pros and cons. Everybody knows that we had pretty much a glowing review of the Stokke. We purchased this specifically for use for travel, just because, well, Natalie wanted to take this, but I refused to take this apart. So we wanted something kind of light and easy to travel with, and this fit the bill.
Yeah, so the only pro with this is that it's easy to travel with. So it's light, and you can kind of collapse it, kind of like an umbrella, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, and that really is the only pro that we've seen with this high chair.
So that should tell you where this is going.
Yeah, so obviously. So I'll start with a big con for me is if you watched our Stokke Trip Trap review, I talked about the importance of, so I read about the importance of your feet being grounded when you're eating and being at 90, your hips being 90-degree angles, your knees, and then you just want to, have good posture when you eat. It helps your baby eat properly. This footrest is not adjustable, or is it?
No, it isn't.
It is not. I didn't put this together, so I don't know. So this is not adjustable. Paxton is a year old now, and when we use this, 2 weeks ago, we started using this 2 weeks ago when we were down in Florida visiting my parents, his feet still did not touch the bottom, so his feet were dangling. We were just at our appointment today actually, and he's in the 90th percentile, so he's for his length. So he's definitely a big kid, lengthwise. So he has long legs, so that should tell you, he's 1 year in the 90th percentile and he's still not touching the bottom. Meaning, if you start your baby on solids at 4 months, obviously they're nowhere near it. We started our baby on Paxton at 4 months. Some people don't start until 6 months, but regardless, you'll see it's a long time. And even now, he's not touching, and I don't know when he would touch the bottom. So if that's important to you, that their feet are grounded, obviously that right then and there, this should knock this off of your potential high chair list.
If you watched before, I had my arm actually leaning on the tray here. Paxton is, I don't know, I've made this joke before, but I've not been around a ton of little kids, but I feel like he's incredibly strong, and he grabs this thing and literally yanks up and down. Mm-hmm. And we have no fears over the sturdiness of this chair whatsoever. But this thing, it definitely maybe doesn't inspire so much confidence. Mm-hmm. The tray itself is probably just about the same, but the interesting thing is here that this is a one-handed operation. So I just popped that off with my thumb. It's just a clip underneath of here, and it goes on the exact same way. So again, the point of this was Paxton's a rowdy kid. So when we put him in here, now Natalie's going to talk about a couple of the other cons, but this is, again, one-handed operation. You don't have to worry about it. You can kind of make sure he's held back so he's not going to, jump out on you.
Or pinch his fingers when you put it.
Correct, yes. And that's another big thing. He used to try and put his fingers underneath of here, and I actually made the mistake of pinching him once. I felt terrible. I basically wanted to cry. But this is not. Yeah. So I'm going to try and stay out of here, stay out of the way here so you can see it. But you have to need two hands, and you're required to grab both of these to slide it on. That is a royal pain in the rear.
And when he's kicking, and if he doesn't want to go in and he's kicking and fighting you or just whatever, it's really hard. It's tight and it's hard to really find the hole, I guess, to slide it in. So I think it's difficult putting this in. I hated putting this in when we were down in Florida.
The other thing too is that because of the fact that this is single-handed operation and this is two-handed operation, you might go, okay, well, maybe can you put the baby in with the tray already on? The answer to that question is an astounding no. There's no way that you're going to get your kid in here. At least I couldn't. You can put them in the Stokke with the tray on. Mm-hmm. So it's two-handed operation, yet you still can't get the kid in with the tray on. So As far as ease of entry, 3 thumbs down, I
Yeah.
would say.
And I guess we should clarify too, I mean, we always put Paxton basically 99% of the time when the tray is on, so we definitely know how to slide it in, so it's not that, it's just with this, it's just very difficult. Then the second point is, or if you want to take that thing off, is if you notice with the Stokke, it kind of has this little bucket. So even before he's buckled, when he's in there, it has this added protection that if he's leaning forward or, you know, kicking around, he's not just going to flop out. This does not have that.
So we'll pull this back out again.
So this has nothing. So you have to put him in, hope that he, you know, sits nicely, and then strap him in. And, you know, if your baby is ever not in the mood to go in here, I mean, it is dangerous. I know there were numerous times, you know, in Florida when he just didn't want to go in here. And I mean, again, it was a 2-person job. One person kind of holding him while the other person kind of puts his strap so he doesn't flop out. So we definitely felt like this was not very safe. And also along this safety, you know, I personally would never feel comfortable with just the straps in here. I feel like he could lean forward and knock this whole thing over. And I don't know, when he didn't do it, I just don't really have a lot of trust in this.
I'm sure that's one thing that's probably just her being uncomfortable. I doubt that that's the case. I doubt he could flip it over, but if we're comparing the two,
this one just seems less
yes.
secure. Another con, and this is just in regards to cleanup, if you watched our Stokke video, you can take every single part, like this off and this off very quickly, and then you just have these flat boards so you can easily wipe and clean. This, I mean, it has a fabric. You'd have to we actually didn't clean it at all while we were in Florida, which is kind of gross. So if you get food on here, yes, it's like this little silky, not silky, but this plastic material that you can wipe, but you really can't clean it unless you take it off and throw it in the washer. And that's just a pain because, I mean, I don't know, maybe you might have a very clean eater, but Paxton, I mean, he's a year and he's very messy.
The thing is, this doesn't really add any comfort.
Yeah,
so
and it's not really padded, I mean, it's super thin.
In effect, you could just pull this off and solve the problem that Natalie's talking about, but it's, I mean, then you're kind of just up against plastic.
And then I guess since we mentioned that, so if you look at the two, you think, wow, the Stokke's kind of small, and this has like this big head rest. Now I know Paxton is used to, you know, his head kind of being free, because I think it just comes up to, I don't know.
It's just the middle of his back, basically.
And here, you know, you could tell he was kind of, what is behind me, he would often like turn his head, so he didn't really like that. To me, this seems more as if you're like laying in a lounge chair. You don't have that nice upright posture, and I mean, that might just be what your baby's used to, but it's just something, having Paxton have used that Highchair, we just prefer those things about the Stokke.
This just, as anybody is watching a child use or eat in something like this, and I mean, I'm sure there are hundreds of other options out there on the market that are very similar to this. In fact, we actually saw one recently. It was like a knockoff one on Amazon, I think, for like a quarter of the price. Mm-hmm. But this, I almost feel like it makes your child look like an adult. Like as they're sitting there, as they're eating, as they're interacting mm-hmm. with you and the food, it's more or less you sitting in a chair looking across the table with an adult. Yeah. Whereas watching him sit in this, even far more advanced than when we started with this,
yeah.
It was almost as though we had kind of gone like back 6 months.
Yeah.
Immediately. Just because, again, all of his, like Natalie was saying, all of his movements were restricted, mm-hmm. and it just didn't look comfortable for him.
Yeah. And then also on that aspect is, because if you see how they are both without the tray, so this one you can use without the tray, and I mentioned that in the Stokke, you can just push it up to the table. So if you know, your baby gets to the point, or I guess toddler gets to the point where, you know, they want to be more involved at the dinner table, you could just glide that up, and that's why the size is what it is. It's kind of like a chair. You can slide it to the table. This obviously you can't. You need to have the tray. You can't just slide this thing over.
So looking at the overall picture here, I mean, this is a $50 product. I think it's $49.99. I'm pretty positive on that. And this is about a $250 product. And I feel like, you know, looking back at some of our other videos and some of the things we've done, it probably makes it seem like we buy really expensive stuff. That's not really the case. What we do is we look at the bigger picture, right? So we bought this for a defined purpose. We bought this for a defined purpose. This has many add-ons. We didn't have the add-ons or actually have this whenever Paxton was really little. But looking back on it, we probably would have done that. We would have probably had the infant add-on. Obviously now we've got well, I guess that would have been a newborn add-on. This is the infant add-on. It then becomes basically a booster seat at the table. So this is, a long-term purchase. It's something that we've got and we're going to have. So, the recommendation here is obviously look at the bigger picture. I mean, there were definitely some learnings for us, and we hope we conveyed those to you as clearly as possible. But definitely look at the bigger picture. This is definitely not something that we would recommend, after having learned what we have. So, please let us know if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them. And then also stay tuned. We're trying to get our hands on an IKEA, the inexpensive IKEA Highchair, the Antelope. It sounds ridiculous trying to get our hands on, but apparently it's sold out everywhere. So we had one on order for like 6 weeks?
Yeah.
We ended up having...
Because that's what we originally were going to take to Florida.
So we ended up having to cancel the order and then look for a suitable replacement. So when we have that, it'll be good because we'll have kind of 3 to compare. But in the meantime, again, let us know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.
Where are you going?
To the trash with this one. It's never coming back.